Good evening, listeners. I am your host, Timothy, broadcasting live from my farm for Ghostly Broadcast, global paranormal station. Tonight, we delve into the rich tapestry of Asia, a continent steeped in history and mystery. The stories you're about to hear will take you on a chilling journey through its amusement parks. Places of fun and frolic during the day can become terrifying, liminal spaces by night. From the heart of Tokyo to the outskirts of Seoul and the bustling city of Manila, these testimonies will indeed send shivers down your spine. Let's begin with our first story. Hello, Timothy. My wife Hayon and I decided on a spontaneous trip to the Seoul Amusement Park after weeks of relentless work schedules. An energetic crowd of happy riders, the clicking sounds of roller coasters, and the sweet scent of cotton candy created an electric atmosphere that we both sorely needed. Hayon was always a sucker for these kinds of places. Me, I was just there to see that infectious smile on her face. We spent the day going on rides, trying different food stalls, and soaking up the energetic park ambience. As delightful as everything was, the most memorable part of our day occurred when the sun started to set. That's when we first noticed the lonely little girl near the haunted house ride. Tears were streaming down her face. Hayon, with her soft spot for children, felt drawn in by her. The girl looked no more than 10. Her frightened eyes darted back and forth. I remember feeling a cold chill despite the summer heat. Something about her standing all alone near that ominous haunted house just seemed off. Hayon tried to reassure the girl to calm her down. She spoke softly, soothingly, asking her where her parents were. The girl seemed to relax a bit, but instead of answering, she led us into the haunted house, as if eager to escape the bustling crowd outside so she could be heard over the commotion. The eeriness was gripping inside, cobwebs in every corner, creepy paintings on the walls. Realistic wax figures of ghouls and ghosts were tucked into corners to frighten you as you rounded them. But what was genuinely unsettling was the feeling of being watched and a cold chill that only grew more intense. Then the ride started, ghostly scenarios of days gone by, engrossed in a macabre dance of history. We witnessed a festive scene abruptly change into despair, a recreation of a horrific ride malfunction. To our unease, the little girl seemed to be a part of it, disappearing into the chaos. As the spectacle unfolded, we were stunned, frozen in our spots. A fleeting snapshot of amusement park fun transformed into a grotesque tableau of a tragic accident. Screams and laughter eerily merged. Coil-like metal structures of a ride loomed above, and we saw the little girl in the chaos. Except now she was a part of the disaster. Right in the middle of the malfunctioning ride, she was there, a wax figure complementing her in the lifelike representation. A chilling realization crept over us. This girl we had followed, spoken to, and tried to comfort was from another era, another reality. What we saw was her tragic demise captured and replayed, frozen in time to repeat over and over. Paralyzed by shock, we stood there, no longer in control, held captive by the haunted history of this place. The crying child had vanished, leaving only a distorted echo of her sobs, now a part of the house's grotesque soundscape. The once festive day was now stained by an unearthly horror, an otherworldly discovery that clouded our minds and left an indelible imprint on our hearts. We left the haunted house, deafened by silence, our hearts pounding. Walking away felt like being chased by an invisible terror, the grim tale branded onto our minds. We tried to act normal, shake it off, and pretend everything was okay, but it wasn't. The pool of visitors enjoying rides and the kids screaming with joy starkly contradicted our harrowing experience. Unable to shrug off the pall of unease, we decided to confirm our fears. We approached an old park employee. Faltering, Hayon narrated our encounter, our eyes thoroughly scanning his face for reactions. His demeanor changed dramatically. Pale-faced, eyes wide, he related the park's tragic history. Many years prior, a malfunction of the carousel had taken a little girl's life. His description matched the terrible scene that we had just witnessed. His words confirmed our fears and turned them tangible. The spectral encounter had caught us in a web of distress, and we felt trapped, consumed by the chilling event. As we processed the hair-raising revelation, we realized we were now unwilling participants in a spectral story, unintentionally drawn into a tragedy untouched by time. Yours, Jaewon and Haeon. Thank you, Jaewon, for sharing your eerie experience at Soland with our listeners. Your bravery enriches our ghostly broadcast chronicles. Thank you. Our second story. Hi, Timothy. My name is Lana, and I'm penning down a chilling event that's been happening at the amusement park I work at in Tokyo. So, I work as a janitor at this popular, neon-lit amusement park in the heart of Tokyo. It's usually teeming with laughter and screams of excitement, but when the night falls, it's eerily quiet, save for a soft hum of the idle machinery. Most nights, my team and I wind up working late shifts, tidying up after the festive chaos of the day. Throughout our shifts, we'd occasionally feel a gust of wind that would send chills down our spines. It was unusual, especially since we were indoors. Our shifts usually wrap up around 1 in the morning, and afterwards we have this little tradition of ours where we huddled in a corner of the park, lighting cigarettes and chatting. One such night, as the clock inched closer to our end time, we all heard a scream, a bone-curdling, blood-curdling shriek, piercing the typical quiet. Juri, the youngest of our team, came sprinting towards us, eyes wide with terror, screaming about something she witnessed. Juri claimed she saw and heard a man wailing at the top of the roller coaster before leaping down to his death. We'd all heard the scream but hadn't seen the man who cried it. It hadn't come from Juri. It was distant and echoed eerily against the steel. Panicked, we immediately alerted park security and the local police, but their searches turned up empty. The CCTV footage showed no one in the area. However, the disturbing part was that we had all heard that horrifying scream. We couldn't just ignore it, but there were no viable explanations offered to us either. Over time, the incident became a grim inside joke. We returned to our lives despite the chilling memory that hovered over us, but it was never really the same again. Things grew even stranger around the park after sundown. A couple of weeks later, we again heard that dreadful scream. This time it broke the silence of our break time chatter. It was more gruesome and lifelike than ever. Accompanying the cries was a ghostly apparition on top of the roller coaster. We saw him, caught in the brief flashes of the park's neon lights, the silhouette of a man desperately waving his arms before plunging headfirst into the shadows below. Our hearts froze, breath caught in our throats. The ghostly screams kept ringing in our ears long after the park fell silent again. It sure as hell wasn't an illusion. Everyone saw and heard it. Rumors started spreading among us, talking of loneliness and depression driving folks to such desperate ends right in the heart of Tokyo, closer than one would expect, given the infamous testimonies of rampant suicides throughout Japan. These testimonies suggested that city officials and law enforcement buried these incidents, keeping them hushed up to avoid causing widespread fear or affecting the already high-stress life in the city. Our amusement park didn't take long to become a petrifying symbol of these hidden tragedies. The hauntings became a constant, rattling us to our cores. The thought of something so grim and tragic happening in our city, let alone our workplace, added an eeriness that wrapped around the park each night. Frozen by fear, some of our colleagues quit, unable to bear the nightly horrors. But many of us had nowhere else to go. So we worked through our shifts, the fear never leaving us, the shrieks echoing through the silent park, and the man on the roller coaster always looming in our minds. Despite the horrors and haunting memories, my team and I managed to stick around. Somehow we found a way to cope, to accept the unseen and unforgettable specter of the roller coaster. We chose to see it as a mark of respect, a remembrance for those who succumbed to their desperation in silence. We formed a silent pact among ourselves, trying not to let the fear overtake us, instead confronting it each night with a mix of resilience and quiet acknowledgement. Night after night, we found strength in our shared experiences, each scream a grim reminder of the hidden sorrows of city life. Working at the park hasn't been the same ever since. It's a different kind of place when the sun goes down, full of eerie testimonies that'll last us a lifetime. Regardless, Timothy, it was essential to share this, not just as a chilling tale, but also to shed light on the harsh realities haunting our city. I guess everyone has their ghosts, don't they? Some they're just a little more real. Thanks for letting me share this ghostly story of the Tokyo Amusement Park. Yours, Lana. Thank you, Lana, for sharing your eerie experiences on the ghostly broadcast. Your testimonies from Tokyo remind us of the city's darker side. Your bravery amidst these terrors is admirable. As listeners, we're both spooked and respectful of such hidden stories. Stay strong and safe, Lana. Our third story. Hi, Timothy. I'm Mani, writing you from bustling Manila, Philippines. Working at Sky Ranch in Tagaytay has left me with a story to share, one that still chills me to the bone. I never really believed in local legends until I saw those eyes. I landed a job at Sky Ranch, an amusement park in Tagaytay, and commuted daily from Manila. Evening shifts only bothered me that unforgettable night. My girlfriend, Lisa, often spun testimonies of chilling lore attached to Sky Ranch. She spoke of tragedy, death, and a life claimed by lunacy. Of course, steeped in my practical mindset, I brushed off these spine, tingling testimonies as silly fabrications. I prided myself on my logic and reason, until the night when my skepticism came face to face with the supernatural. While engrossed in a long phone call with Lisa one evening, the brightly lit park blended into the darkness that crept from the edges. The dwindling crowd trickled away, swallowed up by the night's solitude. I was so distracted talking to Lisa that I missed my bus home, my last chance to avoid the long walk back to the city. I felt a chill run down my spine. I wasn't scared of the loneliness, darkness, or distance, but of the path ahead of me, an area within Sky Ranch that was left undeveloped and abandoned. The same area was tied to Lisa's death, madness, and revenge stories. I tried to shake off my sudden fear. I started my lonely trek. With every step tentatively brushing the ground to minimize sound, I found the silence overbearing, my solitude threatening. As I strode further into the darkness, perceiving the crunch of dry leaves underfoot and the whooshing of the chilling wind, a shiver ran down my spine. The feeling was unsettling, something I had never experienced before. Upon reaching the outskirts of the abandoned section of the park, the echoes of one of Lisa's testimonies resonated ominously in my head. It was the story of a man, overwhelmed by depression and rage, who went on a terrifying spree, massacring his family and neighbors before turning the gun on himself right near where I was about to cross. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that stories are just that. Suddenly, I felt an uneasy sensation creeping up my spine, sending my senses high alert, and then I saw it. In the pitch black shadows, two haunting eyes emerged. They were empty voids that stared back at me, reflecting the moonlight terrifyingly. They enveloped a palpable sorrow, an unsettling amalgamation of anger, regret, and despair. Paralyzed by fear, My heart pounded as panic whirled through my mind and spun up my thoughts. I could feel the hairs rise on the back of my neck. Those haunting eyes followed my every move, matching each step I took with an uncanny synchrony that pushed me deeper into dread. I had to escape and get away, but my feet felt cemented to the ground. Finally, adrenaline kicked in. I turned to run, every nerve in my body screaming at me to move faster and escape the eyes chipping away at my sanity. I sprinted, stumbling over stray branches and rocks in my path, my breath coming in ragged gasps. But no matter how fast I ran, the eyes followed, always in my peripheral vision. This unrelenting presence consumed my thoughts and fed my fear. My mind was on the edge of shattering, and my body was about to give in. I could feel those hollow eyes gaining on me, the darkness growing as they got closer. The realization that this might not end well welled up in me, cascading through my body and filling me with a fear I hadn't felt before. I made it home that night, drenched in cold sweat, heart pounding, and the sour, acidic rush of exertion flowed in my veins. Upon hearing the terror in my voice and my ragged sobs over the phone, Lisa immediately rushed to my aid. Barely coherent, I recounted my experience. The haunting eyes, the terrifying chase, and the fear that the tale we once dismissed might carry more truth than we thought. We clung to each other, whispering explanations in a futile attempt to drain the fear out of the incident. And I promised myself I'd never miss the last bus again. Days later, still carrying the vivid memories of that horrifying night, I stayed late again at Sky Ranch. This time, though, I kept an eye on the time. But as fate would have it, the last bus for Manila left a few minutes early. I stood at the bus stop, cursing the driver as its taillights disappeared in the distance. Why had it departed early? It seemed like some otherworldly force was conspiring to keep me in that chilling park. I phoned Lisa, relaying my misfortune and assuring her that I'd be fine, but my phone battery gave out, replacing her calming voice with an abrupt silence. Panic rose within me as I stood stranded again, the chilling memories of the previous walk looming over me. Despite my recent promise to myself, the walk home seemed inevitable again. As the first cold gust of wind blew, carrying the eerie silence of the night with it, I felt a chill that was all too familiar. With a sigh of resignation, I started the dreaded walk back to the city. As I trod the familiar path, I did my best to control the nerves prickling through me. I constantly reassured myself that the last time was just my imagination, stoked by Lisa's assurances that it was all make-believe. Soon, I passed the sprawling, abandoned part of the park. The sigh of relief I let out was more audible than I intended, swallowing the silence of the night around me. Just as I was beginning to regain my composure, convincing myself that fear had tricked me the last time, a movement in the distant bush yanked me back into my nightmare. In the heart of the dark wilderness, I saw them again. The eyes, two white haunting dots, echoed out from the shadows. The darkness seemed material, almost fading into these 2 points of an immense abyss, sucking in the remnants of my courage and calmness. A knot of dread formed in my stomach as I again faced the specter. It was a repetition of my previous nightmare, but this time I knew it wasn't a trick of my imagination. Panic seized me, and I bolted, pushing myself past the limits of my endurance. Yet no matter how fast I ran, the eyes kept pace, their hollow gaze pressing into me, as if to sear themselves into the core of my being. My lungs burned, my vision blurred, and the shadows around me contracted, narrowed by my escalating fear. My legs felt like they were moving through thick, dense sludge, each stride growing weaker, as if the darkness was physically pulling me back towards those staring eyes. In my desperate run, I tripped on an unseen rock and fell hard, scraping the skin from my palms and knees. I picked myself up trying to continue my flight, but realized with cold certainty that I was too far from the city's comforting lights. With that relentless apparition, I was trapped in the cold, isolated stretch of road. out of breath and options. Fear-induced adrenaline pumping in my veins, I twisted around and faced the eyes head-on. Gulping down the lump in my throat, I shouted into the darkness, asking what it wanted. An eerie silence fell, punctuated by heavy, inhuman breathing, but the eyes remained, watching me, an endless, chilling stare. Those unblinking eyes, the mere presence of them was damning. The silence broke as a car's headlights pierced the darkness. A vehicle hurtled toward me, tires squealing against the gravelly road as it halted beside me. It was Lisa, having decided on some inexplicable gut feeling after my phone died mid-phone call with her. As I scrambled into the car's safety, I glanced back one last time. The ghost's eyes glowed even brighter momentarily, their menacing glare creating a sharp contrast with the surrounding darkness. Then, just as suddenly, they vanished, disappearing into the same inky black from which they had emerged. Lisa floored the accelerator, and with every inch we covered, I felt the suffocating fear release its grip. But I knew as we disappeared into the welcoming city lights that any relief felt now was merely temporary. Back in the safety of our home, we spoke with Lisa's uncle, a historian familiar with local myths. As we recounted my experiences, he nodded knowingly, mentioning the restless spirit of the enraged murderer. The details aligned hauntingly well. Supposedly, those eyes reflected the man's immense regret in his final moments, and his tormented soul continued to wander, condemned to eternal unrest. Unable to ignore the chilling truth any longer, I resigned from Sky Ranch the next day. I couldn't dare risk another encounter with those eyes. Now, we both often wonder, do the eyes still linger in the dark, each night revisiting their torment, seeking solace or another soul to share their despair? In the end, I guess we'll never really know. Just a word of caution if you find yourself in Sky Ranch Park after dark. Don't dismiss the testimonies. They may be more real than you think. Yours sincerely, Manny. Thank you, Manny, for your testimony. Reality often surpasses fiction in its strangeness, especially with the supernatural. Listeners, thank you for joining me on tonight's chilling journey. Remember, these stories serve as a reminder that the world, especially in its darkest corners, is filled with unexplained mysteries. If you enjoyed these testimonies from our global listeners and wish to hear more from Ghostly Broadcast, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification. Your support keeps the eerie testimonies coming. Stay safe, heed local legends, and until next time, keep listening.